Erev Tov, everyone. It is Wednesday night. It is 8 p.m. here on the east side of the United States, here in the diaspora. This is the Maimon Beit Knesset, therefore it must be the Torah study with Rabbi Aryel and Rabbi Ancel. And we'll be bringing Rabbi Ancel on here in a moment. We thought we would take a break in the Torah study this evening and go over, because the high holy days are coming upon us very quickly, and we figured we would go over the laws, some of the laws and the customs of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and and just so you know that this will be the last broadcast for the weekday broadcast for till after the high holy days and Sukkot and everything, because we're going to be busy. We have things to do to set up the shul and get things cleaned and get them ready for the high holy days and all like that. So let's bring on Rabbi Ancel. You are on, sir.
Erev Tov, everybody, and welcome. And let's see if we can do some studies on the holy days. And I think we should talk mostly about traditions and some of the laws.
Okay, so we got in the chat room, we have Donald and we have Marshall so far. And so let's see what we got here. Okay, so let me go through here. I'm actually going through the in the back of the Ark Scroll Machzor. They actually have a section in here in both Machzorim for the holy days and some of the laws and customs. So we'll be going through that. So starting out with the concentration on the prayers. Okay, Richard has joined us, and Rabbi Wyckoff has joined us also. Good to have you both here, along with everybody else. So
I would like to get involved with it too.
I'm sorry, you broke up there a little bit.
I would like Rabbi to get involved with us too. You know, he has also opinions.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll bring him on after we come back. Let's see. Okay, concentration on prayers. Prayer is a major ingredient of every Jew's daily religious life, as we know. The importance of prayer is heightened during the days of awe and judgment, when every Jew must approach his Maker to implore that his sins be forgiven and that he and his dear ones be inscribed in the book of life. During this period, therefore, we must be especially mindful of the way we conduct ourselves during our prayers and take more care to enhance our concentration and intensity when we pray. One should know the meaning of his prayers, especially in regard to the benedictions of the Shemoneh Esrei. One should at least meditate on the meaning of the concluding sentence of each benediction, which summarizes its theme, such as Baruch Hamelech HaKadosh, blessed is the Holy King, and the first benediction of the Shemoneh Esrei is treated with special stringency in this regard. So we get into some miscellaneous laws now. One should not eat or drink in the morning before praying. However, it is permitted to drink tea or coffee with milk.
Yeah, that's what we used to do. We used to have a hot tea in the morning.
Yeah. One may not pray in the presence of immodestly clad women or facing a window through which they can be observed. It is forbidden to pray while one feels the need to discharge his bodily functions. One must wash his hands before praying, but no benediction is recited. That's because the first benediction for the service is actually the one for the washing of the hands, and it's not really strict. I mean, I wash my hands. I say the bracha, and then I come in and I start the prayers. So additions to the Shmoneh Esrei, several passages are interpolated, if I'm pronouncing that right, into each Amidam for the first night of Rosh Hashanah until the end of Yom Kippur. In the first blessing, the formula Zachrenu, remember us, is added. In the second, Mi Chamoka, who is like you. In the second to the last, Ukvod, Uktov, and inscribed. And in the last blessing, Besefer, in the book. If one forgets to say these, any additions, he should not recite the Shmoneh Esrei again. However, if he becomes aware of the omission prior to saying the word Hashem in the conclusion of the retrospective blessing, he may return to the place where the passage should have been interpolated or added in, and continue from there. The ending of the third blessing of the Amidam, Ha'el HaKadosh, the Holy God, is changed to HaMelech HaKadosh, the Holy King. This emendated is made to accentuate God as ruler and judge of the world. If one recites,
that's the only time. It's the only time. It's the only time in the year that we say that. Melech.
Exactly, yeah, because the whole world is judged on that day. Even the hosts of heaven, even God Himself. So if one recites the usual ending, he may correct himself immediately by saying HaMelech HaKadosh. If, however, he did not correct himself in time, he must begin the Amida
from the beginning.
Yep. If one had already begun the next blessing before realizing his mistake, he must begin the Amida anew. The last blessing of the Kaddish, many Sidurim, changed the ending of the last blessing in the Amida from B'Shalom, Hamavarek et Amo Yisrael B'Shalom, who blesses his people Yisrael with peace, to Hoseh HaShalom, who makes peace.
Hoseh Shalom Bimromav.
Matan Avraham rules that the regular form of the blessing should not be changed. However, a chazan should not deviate from the custom of his congregation. We've talked about this many times. Where whatever it is, he should repeat the Shmoneh Esrei aloud. At the conclusion of the Shmoneh Esrei and the Kaddish, instead of Oseh Shalom Bimromav, one should recite Oseh HaShalom Bimromav.
It's strange.
Excuse me.
Yeah, you can live in a state, and you can have so many different versions because each synagogue, each congregation has their own minhags, has their own traditions, but nothing is standard.
Yeah. It is customary to repeat the word Le'elah in every Kaddish. However, if the word was omitted, Kaddish need not be repeated.
Definitely never. You don't never repeat the Kaddish.
Yeah. So the next one deals with the Sabbath. So we're going to skip that because Rosh Hashanah is not on the Sabbath. So we'll go on to the Yom Tov meal.
What about there's a question. Why no halal?
Okay, so why no challah?
Basically, the halal is said because it's a celebration. Even though it's Rosh Hashanah, it is sort of celebration, but we're going into the 10 days of awe,
right.
So we don't rejoice. We have to look into ourselves and look into our souls and know that, it is time for judgment. So no halal is said.
Yeah. So, the Yom Tov meal. It is customary to recite on both nights a prayer beginning with Yehi Ratzon. May it be your will. When eating foods that serve as good omens. This is primarily a Sephardic custom.
Correct.
One of these foods, foods is an apple dipped in honey. Before eating the apple, one must recite the usual blessing for fruit, since one may not interrupt between the blessing and partaking of the food. The Yehi Ratzon, it should be recited after one has eaten a bit of apple. The same applies to the Yehi Ratzon said after eating challah dipped in honey. Now that's the Ashkenazic tradition,
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say we not always had apples, so we used to dip our challah and honey.
Yeah.
But that, which is an Ashkenazi custom.
Now in here we have I want to see if we actually have it in here. I think I remember seeing it in the Machzor, the Sephardic one, where they actually talk about the different fruits. And there's actually a play on words in some of the fruits. The word that they use, the fruit, the name for the fruit is actually close to another word, which means, oh yeah, here it is. Let's see. No, that's not it. I'm gonna. Yes, Musaf. Okay, I must have missed it. Yeah, it's in here somewhere. Maybe it's in my other Machzor, my Sephardic Machzor. But anyway, so there's a whole. Let's see, it's 4, 5, 6, 7. I think there's 9 different foods.
Yeah, because the Sephardics, they actually have. It's not like the Ashkenaz. Ashkenazis just have a dinner. The Sephardics have what? They have a Seder.
Yeah, they have a Seder. And there is actually a Seder plate for Rosh Hashanah.
Yep.
And like I said, there's, if I'm remembering correctly, there's 9 dishes on there with the various different fruits and stuff like that, where the different blessings are said on it. It's actually great. And there's some other kind of neat customs on there, like leeks. There's a blessing for the leek, which is the word is similar to our enemies or being ripped and something like that. Where Sephardic custom, some Sephardic custom, I think it's actually more from Iran, where they will take they rip the leek and they throw it over their back, over their right shoulder. So kind of casting away these evil things.
Tashlich.
Yeah, tashlich, yeah. Okay, so it's customary to recite on both nights. Okay, we already did that. Challah dipped in honey. The day of Rosh Hashanah, if one is to pray alone on Rosh Hashanah, he should not sound the shofar or recite Musaf until 1/4 of the day from sunrise has passed. In many communities, Tehillah 130, Shir Hamalot Mimakim is recited after Yishtabak. If an individual lags behind the congregation and has not reached Yishtabak, then they begin with this psalm. He may nevertheless recite it together with the congregation. If he wishes, he may recite it again after Yishtabak. Prayer with a minyan of 10. One should try his utmost to pray in the synagogue together with the congregation. Unfortunately, that's not possible for a lot of people. For the Almighty does not reject the prayer of the many. Contrary to the popular misconception that it is sufficient to respite to Barchum and Kiddusham with the main objective of prayer with a minyan is to recite Shmoneh Esrei with the minyan. Therefore, one must arrive at the synagogue early enough so that he can keep up with the congregation. Okay, we'll see how well that works. Recess before Musaf. Okay, in many synagogues, it is customary to have a short recess before sounding the shofar. One should not waste his time by trying to one should not waste this time, but try to utilize every precious minute of the day of judgment. Some people use this time to recite Tehillim, study the laws, the intentions of the shofar service, and so on. That was kind of the tradition at our synagogue, was that little break, and then there was a brief kind of class on the laws, and then go back in and do the musaf. Because
also for the service for blowing the shofar, you must stand. You cannot sit. So it's older people. So they take a break.
Yeah. Because there has been a recess, one should wash his hands again before returning to his prayers. In many communities, it is customary for people to make a kiddush and eat something during this recess. Strictly speaking, however, it is forbidden to eat before hearing the shofar, except for those who are too ill or weak to go without food until after Musaf. The communities that make Kiddush at this point do so because they will finish Musaf well into the afternoon, and it would impose an extreme hardship on many people not to eat before then. Certainly a full meal should not be eaten at this time, just enough light refreshments to enable one to concentrate on his prayers. So now we move on to the shofar. The blessing, the two blessings are recited by the Tokeah, the person appointed to sound the shofar. The congregation fulfills its obligation to recite the blessing by listening and responding Amen.
Only Amen.
Only Amen. Therefore, it is of utmost importance to listen to every word and to intend to fulfill one's obligation thereby. One should not say Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, blessed is he, and blessed is his name, for this would be an unnecessary interruption in the blessing.
Only Amen.
Yeah, only Amen. During the sounding of the shofar, it is absolutely essential that one listen intently in order to hear every single blast.
And no talking.
Yeah. It is helpful to follow the notes in one's machzor or siddur so that one is always aware of which note is being sounded. Now, we actually, in the siddur, it actually counts them out. I actually write the number right above the word just to make absolutely sure that I get it right. And again, you have a shofar.
Who, me?
Yeah, I heard you blow it.
I have two. I have an Ashkenazi one, and I have the Sephardic one.
Yeah, so the Sephardic one, which is the one you blew the other day.
Yep.
That's a triple twist, right?
That's the big one.
That's a what? Oh, somebody went to get his shofar. Okay, well, you're going to get your shofar. I'm going to get my shofar. So there you go.
Yeah, I prefer the Sephardic one.
Okay. My shofar I made myself. This is the horn of This is the horn from a Bighorn Sheep. And I was very fortunate that my supervising rabbi at the time had a good friend that was a vet in Texas. who sent him a bunch of horns to make shofarot with, and he gave this one specifically to me. And it took me about 4 years to actually work up the nerve to be able to actually cut into this thing because it was so beautiful. And I just love the sound of it because it's so deep. So you blew yours, I'm going to blow mine. So
You know, it's
how's that?
I'm blowing hot air.
I like it because it's got...
It is one the Sephardic one. It took me a long time, because most people have the idea that if you blow into the shofar, it's going to sound. It's not.
No.
It's not blowing. It's actually applying pressure to the shofar.
Well, yeah. Any person
sound.
who plays a brass instrument can do that. And as a matter of fact, Rabbi Wyckoff says that he says, I cannot blow the shofar. He says, my son Michael, who is a musician, was our official shofar blower at the services.
If you blow the trumpet, you can really blow it.
Yeah. Or especially if you played the tuba. I mean, then you would have the lung capacity to really belt it out. But again, Rabbi Wyckoff's son Michael is a professional musician, so I imagine he does probably a pretty nice shofarot. Okay, so yeah, we did that. Okay, many machzurim, including prayers, to be said between the various sets of blast. Those who recite these prayers should not pronounce the names of angels mentioned in them. Many authorities have raised questions about both the proprietary of saying prayers during the blast and the contents of these prayers. Consequently, some congregations omit them. If one is accustomed to say these prayers, but is in a congregation where they omit it, it is advisable for him to omit them as well, lest he miss the beginning of the next set of blasts. Actually, according to the Shulchan Aruch, you have to follow the custom of the community.
I always said it. So, that was our custom. So.
Yeah. The authorities stress that one should refrain from making any noise whatsoever during the sounding of the shofar, i.e., yawning, etc., for it is absolutely essential to hear every shofar sound from beginning to end. Even if the tekiah prolongs a note unnecessarily, one must hear it from beginning to end. And there's actually it takes some practice to do this, because the various ones all have to be within a set period of time. When you blow the first one, then the rest of them should fit within that same period of time, except for the tekiah gadolah, which is the longest one.
Which is the longest one.
Yeah.
But also the last one.
Right. So the woman's obligation. It is a universally observed custom for women to hear the shofar blast. If a woman could not hear the blast in the synagogue, she may blow the shofar herself or have a man blow it for her. In either case, she recites the blessing herself. According to Rabbi Yosef Karo, whose ruling is followed by Sephardic Jews, she should not recite the blessing. Although it has become universal custom for congregations to sound 100 shofar blasts, women not need hear more than the required 30.
Karo was pretty strict.
Yes, he was, but amazing. And if you ever get a chance to read about Rabbi Karo, make sure you read one of the books that talks about his uncle, because Caro was basically orphaned young, and he lived with his uncle and was brought up by his uncle. So a lot of this teaching was given to him by his uncle, who must have been an amazing rabbi.
Amazing is small.
Yeah.
The knowledge Caro had and the knowledge he wrote down is beyond imagination.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Feinstein, I like a lot of them, but none of them can come close to Caro. None of them. And let me tell you something, I like to know 1/10 of what Feinstein knew, or, but not to take anything away from him, but Caro he is one by himself.
Yep.
And Feinstein, I mean, he was a little bit more lenient, but not Caro was pretty tough.
That's true, yeah. In many communities, tekiyot are sounded even during this silent Amida. At the conclusion of each set of shofar blasts, a prayer is said, but the prayer, Areshet, Sefatenu is said only after the shofar blast of the Amida recitation by the Chazan. If an individual is still in the middle of his silent Amida, when the shofar is about to be sounded, he may pause and listen to the blast. However, he may not recite Hayom Harat Olam.
That's the blessing after.
Yeah, for this would be an unauthorized interpolation in the prayer. Rather, he should continue his Amida and recite it when he reaches that point in the Machzor. Bowing during the Aleinu. This is, I think a lot of people find this interesting. When the Chazan comes to the word Korim, V'anachnu Korim, Mistakaveh Umodim, in the Aleinu of Musaf, it is customary for him to kneel and bow his head all the way to the floor. In many communities, pardon?
And he's not allowed to move because he's in the middle of the Shemona Esrei, so you also have two people to lift him up, so he is in the same position before he went down.
In many communities, the entire congregation does so also. In some communities, though, everyone in the congregation kneels and bows, but does not bring his face to the floor. In some others, only the Chazan kneels with or without bringing his face to the floor. Because of the scriptural prohibition to prostrate oneself on a stone floor, the rabbis forbade, because of the prostration stones that were used by the pagans, the rabbis... Pardon?
Or the Muslims.
Yeah. The rabbis forbade prostration even upon wooden floors and the like. Therefore, it is customary to place paper or other material on the floor upon which one will kneel, so that one will not touch his head, or according to some authorities, even his knees, on the bare floor. If no material is available, one should place his talit between his head and the floor. Okay. So, if you have a carpet on your floor, you should be good, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Rosh Hashanah afternoon, and here we go, Tashlik. Okay. After Mincha, on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, the Tashlik prayer is recited at a body of water, preferably containing a live fish, which I'm very fortunate because all I got to do is go out my back door, and I have a pond right in the back of my house. Actually, it's a fairly large pond. The pond is probably about the size of a football field.
We used to fill our pockets with pieces of challah or pieces of bread. We used to throw it into the river.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that, because We'll get to it. So if the first day is on Shabbat, Tashlik is postponed until the second
So
day.
the next day, yep.
In cases where it is too difficult to go to the water on Rosh Hashanah, some communities recite Tashlik during the 10 days of repentance. It is forbidden to throw bits of food into the water for the fish to eat, for it is forbidden on festivals to feed animals. For those sustenance, one is not personally responsible. What do you think of that?
Well, I would say because we didn't have any fish, so
That's true. That's true. That's true. Where Rabbi Ancel came from, the water was too hot for fish.
Yeah.
So, well, you said, you said all winter long, though the river never froze.
Oh no, it was 120 degrees Fahrenheit in the wintertime because it was. That's why, like I said, when I left Romania and I came to Paris and I was given a glass of water, I really didn't know what water was, because the water that I drank in my house was carbonated water because it was volcanic area. And I drank, and I still do, I only drink club soda because that's all I drink all my life. And I'm not too happy to drink plain water.
Yeah. Okay.
So we were safe for tashlich. Yes, you're not allowed to throw if you know that there's going to be fish. You're feeding fish. That's on Yom Kippur. It's not allowed.
Yeah. So it is. Basically we either go to the lake, which is just about a quarter mile down the road, or if we go over to the pond. Either way, we go there. We do the tashlik prayers, and then we shake out our talit over the water.
Yep.
Okay.
Get rid of our sins.
Yep. Symbolically.
Symbolically.
Preparation for the second day. It is forbidden to cook on the first day of Rosh Hashanah for the second day, or to make any kind of preparations from one day to the other. One may light candles at the end of the afternoon of the first day, except on Shabbat, if their light is needed at the time they are lit, even though their main use will be at night. However, the festival candles, which are lit with the recitation of the blessing, should be lit only after it is definitely night. That's on the second day. The candles may only be lit from an existing fire, such as a gas pilot light. In the case, in no case may a match or a cigarette lighter be struck on the festival.
Yeah, people used to come into the kitchen. There was some candles that were lit, and they used to light their cigarettes.
Yeah, there's actually what we do here is the yard site candles.
I don't like that idea because a yard site candle has a specific purpose, and you're honoring the dead.
Yeah, but we don't light it as a yard site candle.
Yeah, so they had candles that were specifically for people who wanted to have a cigar or cigarettes. I'm hesitant to use yard site candles to light something for somebody to smoke, which is against somebody's health.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're using it just to like for Havdalah.
Yep.
To light the Havdalah candle, you have to light it from an existing flame on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and we'll actually get into that and why it is.
Yeah, but if it's the only candle that's available, then use it.
Yeah. So the second night of Rosh Hashanah, since Rosh Hashanah is regarded as a single long day, some authorities hold that a Shechianu blessing should not be recited on the second day, which we don't do, in order to avoid the problem of reciting an unnecessary blessing during Kiddush. One should wear a new garment or place on the table a new fruit that one has not yet eaten this season and over which one would be obligated to recite Shechianu blessing. So there's always a workaround.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So Sephardic custom.
Uh-huh.
Before Musaf, do they do Birchat Kohanim and Rosh Hashanah? Hello?
Come to think about it, I don't think so.
No.
You say that and you go, do we or don't we?
What does the rabbi in the room say?
Oh, let's see. We'll have to get. We have a delay, so we'll have to wait for his answer. So it is. Probably reciting unnecessary blessing. Eating. Okay, so once you recite the Shechianu. However, if one does not have a new garment or fruit, Shechianu should be recited somehow for some reason. Figure a reason. There's plenty of reasons to do a Shechianu.
Well, at Rosh Hashanah, we should wear something new,
Yep.
So you should say the Shechianu.
Yep. It is customary for women to recite the Shechianu prior to lighting the candles. Because of the halakhic view noted above, it is preferable for a woman to put on a new garment just before lighting the candles. If this is not possible, she should defer the candle lighting until immediately before Kiddush and intend the blessing to refer to the new fruit as indicated in the previous paragraph. If I think we got, Rabbi Wyckoff wants to know what the question is. Do we say the Birkat?
I'm sorry?
Rabbi Wyckoff wants to know what the question was.
The question is, on Rosh Hashanah, do we do Birchat Kohanim?
Yeah. Okay, so we'll wait for the answer. If new fruit is used to avoid the problem of the Shechianu, it should be eaten by the person reciting the Kiddush immediately after drinking the Kiddush wine. It is not necessary for other participants in the meal to do so. Nevertheless, it is customary for all those present to taste the fruit as a good omen. Okay, so the next one has to deal with the end of Shabbat. Again, Rosh Hashanah is not on Shabbat this year. So the end of Rosh Hashanah, in the first weekday Ma'ariv prayer following the festival, a special prayer, Ata Honantanu, you have favored us, is inserted into the fourth benediction of the Shemoneh Esrei. This prayer declares the distinction between the higher holiness of the festivals and the mundane nature of the weekdays. If one forgets to insert this prayer, he may not repeat the benediction. Rather, he should rely on the Havdalah, which will be recited over wine after Ma'ariv.
The reason why I asked whether we do Birchat Kohanim on...
Rabbi Weinkauf says no.
Correct. Here comes the second part. Customarily, the Sephardics do Birchat Kohanim on Shabbos, every Shabbos.
Yeah.
What happens if Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbos? Do they do it or they don't?
I would have to look in the Machzor to find out. To tell you the truth, I would have to look it up.
Customarily, because of Rosh Hashanah, they don't.
I wouldn't think so.
Because everybody, whether it's Ashkenazi or Sephardics, we do not do Birchat Kohanim. We do it on Yom Kippur, but not on Yom. So if it falls on Shabbos, it makes no difference. Yeah. Even though the Sephardics do Birchat Kohanim every Shabbos. The question was because it's Shabbat, it's the biggest Shabbos.
Yeah.
Why do you skip it? I have not seen a ruling on it. I know it's not done.
Yeah. I'll look that up.
Okay.
Even after Yom Tov has ended, it is prohibited to do any forbidden work before reciting Atahun Antanu or Havdalah. This should be especially stressed in regard to women since they generally do not recite Ma'ariv. They should not do any work before hearing Havdalah. However, by saying the words Baruch Hamavdil ben Kadosh L'Chol, blessed is he who separates between the holy and the secular, one becomes permitted to do work. Laws of
whatever.
laws of labor. It should be borne in the mind that, with few exceptions, all labors that are forbidden on the Sabbath are forbidden on festivals as well, including Rosh Hashanah. The most familiar exception involves the cooking of food from a pre-existing flame and the carrying of items that are needed for Rosh Hashanah. A discussion on these laws actually are not in here. You would have to go into the Shulchan Aruch to find the rest of that. Okay, so that's just kind of a quick look at the laws and the customs of Rosh Hashanah.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
Okay, so you said that cooking from an existing flame is allowed, correct? Correct. What happens? What is the difference if Rosh Hashanah falls during the week? So what is the difference if Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbos? And now you are warming up food from an existing flame. What do you have to add?
Oh, you have to add new food, right?
No, but to warm it up, what do you have to add? Because it's Shabbos. You have to add the blech.
Oh, the blech. Okay.
People have to be careful because it's people just forget. But if it falls on Shabbos, you can warm up the food, but you definitely need the blech because of Shabbos.
Right.
Shabbos overrides Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, because that's the one that occurs the most often.
Correct. Okay. Continue.
Okay, so we are at our halfway point. So let's take our. You know what? Let's not take a break. Let's keep going. Okay, so we're on to the Yom Kippur.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically it starts out the same way. We talked about the additions to the Shemona Esrei, which are the same ones. The last blessing of the Kaddish, the Sabbath, which it does not fall on the Sabbath this year. The prayer with the minyan. Okay, so Shacharit. Slichot is said during according to the Eastern European custom, in an abbreviated fashion. Actually, we have in Sephardic we started on the first of the month.
What about Erev Yom Kippur?
Huh?
What about the laws of Erev Yom Kippur?
We'll get there.
Oh, okay. Because we were talking about Shacharit. Okay, my mistake.
Okay.
I apologize.
Yeah, because it gets. Let's see. These are all the same. Yeah, I know it gets into it because I was reading it the other day. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, Slichot is, according to Eastern European custom, is an abbreviated fashion. In Pikudei Zimra, Mizmor LeTodah, Psalm Tehillah 100 is omitted. Many communities, Tehillah 130 is recited after Yishtabach throughout the 10 days of repentance. And surely on Erev Yom Kippur. If an individual has not recited Yishtabach when they are about to begin this psalm, he may nevertheless recite it together with them. If he wishes, he may recite it again after Yishtabach.
What is one of the customs the day before Yom Kippur that Jews used to do, or well, in my time, I mean, I'm talking about going back quite a few years. I don't know if about some communities, I believe in Canada or in the States, still do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're getting at.
We used to you used to get a chicken and used to do what?
Oh yeah, God, we did. We actually
Caporal.
yeah, caporal. Yeah, we actually did a comic on that. Yeah, the waving of the chicken. And or in these days they usually tie coins into a handkerchief and do it.
Correct.
Yeah.
We used to wave the chickens over our heads and we used to come home with lice.
Yeah. Well, the idea was to wave the chicken, and basically, kind of, sort of, almost, kind of like what the Kohen Gadol would do with the goat for Azazel.
Yes. Yeah, that was the custom.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they would do that, and then they would give the chicken to a poor family.
All the chickens that were used to do the kaparot were given to families that had the poor families of the town.
Right. Yeah. Nowadays, they put coins in a hanky, tie it up, and then they do the kavarot, and then they they give the coins to
The Jewish people, Jewish customs, they really do tzedakah. They really look after, or we used to. I don't know much about now, but we used to look after the poor people of the town.
Yeah.
Even when there was a funeral, because the poor person of the town, his job was at a funeral to place the body in the hole. But walking from the house of the deceased to the cemetery, he used to have a pot made out of clay. And people used to fill it with money all the way to the funeral, because once
Yes.
to the grave, he broke the vessel, and he put a piece of clay on each eye, and because he had to look at the face of the deceased, he got to keep the money. And it was a nice custom. It was a tough thing to do. So we did look after the poor people. Judaism is about a lot about tzedakah.
Yeah.
Well,
during this whole period, and it actually talks about that in here, that it is customary to give more than the usual amount of tzedakah during this period of time.
Yes. So yeah, this is why we, and no disrespect to anybody else. This is why we are God's chosen people, because we look after. At least we try. It's what's going on in Israel. I'm not going to make a comment on that because most of Israel is secular, but where I come from, the poor people, I mean, he used to make up the little tzepelach, the little pieces of paper every week, and he used to go to everybody's home, and on that little piece of paper, he used to say, you light the candles at this and this time, and Shabbos was out on this and this time, and you gave him a couple of dollars, and when he finished, he was able to go to the store and buy the food for Shabbos for his families, because you know that on Shabbos you're supposed to have 3 meals.
Right.
And in those days, we followed the rules. So we looked after that, and he was the shamus of the synagogue. He cleaned the synagogue. He looked after the synagogue. He changed the parochet for Rosh Hashanah, because everything was in white.
Right.
And for Yom Kippur, and we looked after. We gave him money because he was poor, and everybody knew that. Especially on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, you give a little bit more, even though you cannot really afford it. You said, he's got less than you got, so you gave him tzedakah. Sorry for deviating off the thing, but this is all about, especially the 10 days of repentance.
Yeah. So let's go. Takanun is omitted all day After Slchot Shachrit and Mincha, however, Tachanun is recited at Mincha on the day before Erev Yom Kippur. Avinu Malkeinu, too, is omitted after both Shachrit and Mincha. However, when Yom Kippur falls on Shabbat, the Avinu Malkeinu will be omitted from the Yom Kippur prayers, except for Nilah. The Avinu Malkeinu is said after Shachrit, but not after Mincha on Erev Yom Kippur.
Correct.
Other prayers are omitted on Erev Yom Kippur are Al Erech Apayim. Before taking out the Sefer Torah on Mondays and Thursdays, and Yehir Tzon prayer after reading the Torah, and the Lemlatzek Tehillah 20 between Ashrei and Letzion. Visiting the cemetery. It is in some communities it is customary to visit the cemetery on Erev Yom Kippur to pray there and to distribute substantial amounts for charity.
Correct.
Mincha service of Erev Yom Kippur should precede the final meal of the day. Mincha will be recited slowly and with much concentration and vidui. The confession will be recited. Therefore, it is customary to pray Mincha earlier than usual. I always pray Mincha right as close to Mincha Gedola as I can.
Yes.
That goes along with the custom that you should run to fulfill a mitzvot. So a lot of congregations will do Mincha right before Ma'ariv. So I go from Mincha right into Ma'ariv, and I don't. I usually between 2:30 and 3 o'clock every day.
Erev Yom Kippur Mincha is set very, very early, so it gives you a chance to go and eat and get yourself ready. We used to
but it shouldn't be done before the proper time, which would be the beginning of Mincha Gedola.
Yep.
So, which in our case is probably going to be somewhere around, I would say, probably about 1:50 in the afternoon, about that time, because right now we are at Mincha Gedola happened at 2:01 today. So the days are getting shorter.
Yeah. Plus, we had the meal when you came to the synagogue. We went and did the mikvah, and we got into into the evening and the special service.
Okay, so it is a time-honored custom to distribute charity lavishly before the mincha service of Erev Yom Kippur.
Yep.
The practice, which enjoys widespread acceptance, is to set up plates or boxes for various charities so that everyone can contribute according to his means. The Chazan chosen to lead Mincha should be worthy of being Chazan on the holy day itself. And the Chazan should don a talit, even if the congregation does not do so for the regular Mincha. Okay, Vidui. One recites Shemona Esrei until Oseh HaShalom, or Hamavarek Adamo Yisrael B'Shalom says that the verse V'Goalim Yehiyu V'Goalim. What if I can get my mouth to work right tonight? And recites the alphabetically ordered Vidui confession found in the Siddur or Machzor. If one regularly remembers committing a specific sin not included in the regular vidui, he should express it in his own words and confess tearfully with heartfelt contrition. However, one should not confess loudly to an individual sin, whether one sinned towards God or towards one's fellow. One may confess a sin committed a long time ago for which he has already confessed on a previous Yom Kippur. When confessing, one must stand, but his posture should express humility and contrition, slightly bent at the waist, head down, and shoulders hunched. It is customary to lightly strike the left side or the middle of the chest while mentioning each sin of the confession. When confessing, one must stand upright without leaning on anything. One is considered to be leaning if he would fall when his support is removed. If he confessed while leaning, there is a question whether the confession should be repeated. Berkei Yosef, however, cites the view of earlier authorities that an elderly or sick person may lean on something. One should remain standing until Arba Mitot Beit David. While an individual is reciting Vidui, he may respond to Kaddish and Kiddushah. However, if he has not yet said the verse, Yihiu L'Ratzon V'Goalim, he should do so before responding.
Well, if you're sick enough, or if you're too old, actually, Vidui, you can sit. It's preferably that you stand, but if you can't, you can't.
Yeah. The Shulchan Aruch actually, or the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch actually says that. Okay, so the last meal before the fast is eaten after mincha. One should eat easily digestible foods, such as fowl rather than meat. One should avoid foods that would make him thirsty and alcoholic beverages, for they would interfere with his concentration during prayers.
You should have a lot of hot sauce.
The food for that would make you thirsty, though.
That's why I said it.
The food for this meal should not be spiced. Fish are customarily not eaten at this meal.
Yep.
After the meal, one may still eat, provided he has not yet assumed the fast, either orally or mentally. However, it is preferred to make a mental or oral declaration that one does not yet assume the fast, so that he may eat or drink afterwards if he so chooses. Once one assumes the fast upon himself, he is prohibited. Okay, let's try this again.
You cannot eat or drink.
He is prohibited from doing anything forbidden on Yom Kippur, i.e., eating, drinking, washing, working. Wearing shoes is an exception to this rule. One is automatically considered as not having assumed this prohibition until it is required. So you can wear them right up until the service. Preparation of the house for the house and the synagogue. Although no meals will be eaten on Yom Kippur, nevertheless, the tables should be covered in honor of the day, just as they are on Shabbat. The tables in the synagogue should be covered as well. Besides the regular festival candles, 2 special candles are kindled before Yom Kippur. Wearing white. It is a common practice to wear white or a white garment on Yom Kippur to honor the holiday with a garment whose color is reminiscent of the angels. Also, since burial shrouds are white, such garments will remind one of the vulnerability of human life. Thus,
this is why you wear the kittel, because basically, after you put the shroud on a person who's gone to God, if he has one, you put his kittel on. That belongs to him. So if he gets, before you put the talus on him, you put a kittel. So on Yom Kippur, you wear the kittel white. First of all, it shows purity. It reminds you that you are human. It reminds you that one day you will go to God.
Yeah. Yeah, as it says in here, is that it's a reminder of the vulnerability of human life.
Exactly.
Thus humble, one will be moved to repentance. The Ashkenazic practice is for every married male to wear a white tunic-like garment called a kittel.
Yeah.
Women, although they do not don a kittel, wear white garments. Moreover, in deference to the awe befitting the judgment day, they should not wear their regular holiday and Shabbat jewelry.
I have a question.
Yes,
Where else does a man wear a kittel when there's no holiday?
on their wedding.
Why? And now this is not a test. Okay, I should just say it. A wedding is considered like Yom Kippur.
Yeah,
It's a new start. So,
it's a day of repentance.
like I've done so many weddings, I don't think not even 5%. Some of them are fighting me just to put on towels, but to put on I bring a kittel with myself, and I offer it, and I explain to them, why. This is why on the day of your wedding you're supposed to fast, because it's considered like Yom Kippur. You're starting a new life. But unfortunately, some of these customs have just withered out.
Yeah. So it is commendable to don the kittel at home and wear it to the synagogue, so as to be constantly reminded of the awesome nature of the holiday that is about to begin. We should never wear new clothing on Yom Kippur either, right?
No,
So
or leather shoes.
So I bought a new kittel this year. So what I will do is I will wear the kittel on Rosh Hashanah because it's all white and it's new. And then I can wear it on Yom Kippur because it is not new anymore.
Correct.
So this kittel should not be worn in the bathroom. I think that goes without saying because it is designated to be used during prayer. Let's skip out of here to Kol Nidre and Ma'ariv. The Chazan should prolong the recitation of Kol Nidre until it is certainly night, so as to begin Ma'ariv at the proper time. If Kol Nidre is over before nightfall, chapters of Tehillim should be recited until Ma'ariv. It's not a problem we're going to have here because we will. It will be nightfall by the time we start. Yes. Oh, and he's gone, and he'll be back.
He
back with us now?
Okay,
you dropped out there for a moment.
Yeah, he's going to come. Yeah, he's going to come into Kol Nidre. So it's just like a warning, So it's very, very. How should I don't even know the word. It's something you shudder when you know that he's going to start that Kol Nidre.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Hello?
People who don't go to
don't
go to the shul at any other time of the year will go for Kol Nidre.
Hello.
We're here. In the fourth blessing of Shemoneh Esrei, the Yom Tov.
Hello.
We're here. We can hear you.
Anybody there?
Yes. We are still here. Yeah, hang up and try again. Here, let's hang up for him because I have that ability. Okay, so usually when it starts doing that, the only thing to do is to.
You there?
We are here now.
Okay.
So you couldn't hear and you were talking. I was trying to read here, and I said, well, let's just hang up on him, and he'll call back, and the sound will be fine. Okay, so what were you saying about Kol Nidre?
Oh, there are a few sentences that the Chazan starts just to tell people, get into the mood because I am going to start the Kol. It's like a warning thing.
Yeah.
Because he starts al da'as, and there's a few, and he repeats it, 7 times. So people get into it, and then the Kol Nidre starts.
Yeah.
To me, it's one of the nicest pieces. More, I don't know, it hits you right between the eyes and in the heart.
Well, like I said, Jews who do not go to the synagogue at any other time of the year will go for Kol Nidre.
True.
It's a big deal.
It's the same feeling, and I've done it so many times. It's a feeling that it's in your soul and it's in your heart. Every time you take the first step into Israel off the plane, you go down on your knees and you kiss the ground.
Yeah.
It just follows. It just happens. It never fails. So, same thing. Anybody who doesn't even follow Judaism, he'll be there for the Kol Nidre.
Yeah, I mean, I have been very fortunate that that in the past when I was helping Rabbi Rabbi Mann in Sarnia, Canada, I would go over there for the High Holy Days, and I would help him out. He was, he was in his mid-late 80s, and the services took quite a toll on him, so they started asking me if I would come and he asked me if I would come and help him out. And I learned a great deal from him. And I got to tell the story that they invited me to come, and they knew that I could sing. At least back then I could. And they wanted me to come, and they wanted me to do the Kol Nidre, which is a very great honor to be asked.
Correct.
And I went there, and I had all my sheet music with me for the Kol Nidre. And I walked in, and I was talking with Rabbi Mann, and we were getting ready, and we were in there, and we were talking, and he asked me if I was ready, and I said, yeah, I'm ready. I've got my sheet music here. And he goes, from the book. But he said, no, you'll be fine, from the book. And it was fine, and from then on, I always did it from the book. I learned a lot from Rabbi Mann. He was just a wonderful man.
It creates a problem if you forget or you miss a word for Kol Nidre. So it's better to do it by the book.
Yeah. So, let's see. So the Chazan should. Okay, so we talked about that. If Kol Nidre, okay. In the fourth blessing of the Shemoneh Esrei, okay, we did that. When Yom Kippur, okay, that's Sabbath. Many people remained in the synagogue after the service, reciting psalms and prayers, thereby emulating the procedure followed in the temple. However, Levush asserts that it is better to go home and sleep, so that one should not be drowsing during daytime prayers. It is also commendable to study Mishnah Yoma and the laws of these sacrifices of Yom Kippur. Some people have aromatic herbs and spices with them in the synagogue in order to recite the blessing Borei Minei V'Samim over them from time to time. It's also it's a kind of a custom to be able to smell that to kind of rejuvenate yourself.
Yeah, we used to have the snuff. You put it up your nose, and you start sneezing, and it wakes you up, and you're back to praying. Everybody had a little box of snuff.
Some people have thus they are able to complete the total of 100 blessings, which should be recited every day on Yom Kippur. Because of the fast, the opportunity to recite blessings is much diminished. Okay, so 5 restrictions of Yom Kippur. The distinctive feature of Yom Kippur is its designation in the Torah as both a Sabbath and a fast day. Fasting on Yom, which usually never happens. We always postpone any fast day that falls on the Sabbath. We always postpone it till the next day.
Correct.
This is the only exception to that rule. Fasting on Yom Kippur, which the Torah expresses in the terms affliction is a broader concept than the mere abstinence from food and drink. The sages derive from the biblical exegesis that affliction implies abstinence from 5 activities: eating and drinking, washing one's body, anointing oneself, wearing leather shoes, and marital relations.
Yeah.
In addition,
Those are you know, those are the 5 inuim.
yeah.
Question: What about a circumcision? If it's Shabbos and it's Yom Kippur.
Circumcision always happens on the 8th day, regardless. If it's on Yom Kippur, it happens on Yom Kippur.
Thank you.
Same thing on the Sabbath. If it falls on the Sabbath, the circumcision is still done on the Sabbath. And we learned that from what happened to Moshe Rabbeinu when he delayed circumcising his son.
Yep.
So,
you don't delay circumcision.
We do not. Absolutely. In addition,
unless the baby is sick.
In addition, all labors that are forbidden on Shabbat are forbidden on Yom Kippur as well. It is not within the scope of this summary to discuss the details and ramifications. Okay, fine. It is absolutely forbidden to wash even a minute part of the body, whether in hot or cold water, or even dip one's finger in water. However, one may wash his hands 3 times upon arising in the morning as usual, provided that he washes only the minimum required area, the fingers, and not the palms of the hand. He should not intend to wash for pleasure. And actually say only to the first knuckle, right?
Yep.
Should only be to the first knuckle. Unless you absolutely have to, and they talk about it. Kohanim may wash their entire hands before ascending to recite the Birkat Kohanim. In communities where this it is the custom for the Leviim to wash their own hands prior to washing the Kohanim's hands, they may do so. If one has performed his bodily functions and returning to his prayers, he may wash his fingers, and same way as above. Thus, during the Yom Kippur day, when one is constantly at prayer, he may wash his fingers after going to the bathroom. If it is his custom to wash 3 times, he may wash his fingers 3 times. However, at night, after Ma'ariv, it is questionable whether one may wash his hands upon merely urinating. In order to avoid this problem, one should touch a covered part of the body, thus incurring an unquestionable obligation to wash his hands before reciting the blessing. If one merely, I don't know if people in the chat room find this actually interesting or not, but I hope we'll get some comments in there. If one merely entered a bathroom, he may not wash his hands, even if this is his practice throughout the year. Rather, one should wipe his hands on a clean cloth or board in lieu of washing. However, if he is upset at praying with unwashed hands, he may wash them. There's always some give and take in here.
Yeah, same thing. If you need to take, if you're diabetic or if you have blood pressure, you don't have to fast. I mean, there's leniencies in Jewish law. You don't stress out people because if they have blood pressure, you don't want them to go to God, because they didn't take their pill.
Right. Yeah. It's you're actually, if you are diabetic or something like that, you're absolutely, according to the Jewish law, you are forbidden to fast.
Yes.
Because you are putting your own life in danger by doing so.
Yeah. It's and also it's just like committing suicide in Judaism.
Exactly.
It's against the law.
Yeah. One may assume that the device of touching oneself on a covered part of the body is applicable here too. If one has touched a covered part of the body, and he wishes to pray or recite a blessing, he should wash the fingers of that entire hand. But if he touched dirt or mud, he may wash only the soiled area.
Yep.
Although it is customary to wash one's face and rinse the mouth every morning before a prayer, it is forbidden to do so on Yom Kippur. However, if one has mucus in his eyes, he may moisten his fingers and rub them over his eyes. The Shema. Okay. Yeah, we got a little bit of time yet. There's a lot more rules for Yom Kippur than there is for Rosh Hashanah, as if you haven't already figured that out.
Well, the morning prayers, the Musaf, the Bir HaKohanim, most people know it, and then there's the break between Musaf and Nila.
Yeah.
I think one of the most difficult questions about Yom Kippur, it has to do if Yom Kippur is on Shabbos, and you have finished Ma'ariv, but you haven't done the Havdalah. Can you eat? Can you break the fast? There are so many opinions. I was reading today half a day from Feinstein to all of them. Everybody has an opinion. Okay, Feinstein sometimes is more lenient, but everybody has an opinion.
Yeah.
But nobody came to a conclusion.
So basically, we know from the laws that at Shkia, which is sundown,
Yep.
that all the obligations of the day have ended.
Correct.
And we don't do Havdalah until Zet HaKokavim, which is like a half an hour afterwards. If you do the regular one, or an hour after if you follow Rabbeinu Tam.
Okay.
So if the obligations have, if you are no longer obligated to any of the mitzvot after sundown, then it's always been my opinion that you should be able to eat at that point. In fact, one of the congregations that I used to go to is at the end of the Ma'ariv, there was a short break where there was just a small nosh, for people to get a little orange juice, or maybe a muffin or something like that, and then the Havdalah was done after that.
And then the real meal.
And then after Havdalah, then the big break the fast. Yes.
Yeah, because the big question was because somebody had asked. He said, the Chazan just finished Mariv and his throat was dry and he hadn't done the Havdalah. Can he go and have a drink of water? Of course. He's finished Mariv. He's finished the Aleinu. He's done the Kaddish. He has done what he was supposed to do. The Havdalah is something else. You want to wait a half an hour, you want to wait an hour, but you are allowed to have a bite to eat and a drink.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been my practice and my opinion. Okay, so let's see. Okay, let's go to the Musaf. We're going to skip Shachrit because Shachrit is about the same as it is on Rosh Hashanah. We've already talked about that. The Torah reading, the same thing. Musaf of the Yom Kippur. And I'm going to kind of skip through these because we're getting kind of short on time here. In his repetition of the Shmoneh Esrei, the Chazan says the Avodah, the poetic rendition of the temple service on Yom Kippur. The Chazan leads the congregation which should recite the Avodah along with him. It is important that one familiarize oneself before Yom Kippur with the piyut recited by the congregation so that he will understand the details of the service described in the piyut. Okay, let's kind of skip ahead here for the Nila. Nila is the culmination of Yom Kippur prayers. It is
Thank you,
recited
Bretman.
just as the heavenly gates, which have been opened wide for the acceptance of prayers, are about to close. Although one is now tired from the fast, he should gather his strength and concentrate with great intensity and fervor upon this prayer. Ideally, Nila should be commenced a short while before sundown and be concluded close to nightfall.
And you stand the whole service, the whole kneeling, no sitting.
Yeah, it should not begin before Plag Hamincha,
Yep.
approximately an hour and a quarter before sundown. The Chazal's repetition includes the passage beginning with Hayom Yifnei, the day will fade away. If it is already night, the passage should be reworded to read in the past tense Hayom Panam Hashemesh Ba Ufane. The day has faded away, and the sun is set and is gone. However, it is not yet certainly night. It is twilight. The wording does not have to be changed. On Yom Kippur, well, that goes with the Sabbath. Conclusion of the prayer Avinu Malkeinu is said even on the Sabbath at the meal. The single tekiah is sounded on the Shofar. There are varying customs as to the exact place of the sounding of the shofar in the prayer sequence, whether before Kaddish, after it, or in the middle of Kaddish, or before Titkabel. The tekiah may not be sounded when it is still surely day, but may be blown in the twilight period, even on the Sabbath. There are varying views on the exact halakhic definition of the term twilight. Each congregation should follow its tradition and the ruling of its recognized halakhic authority. So let's skip ahead to Havdalah. Okay, so all restrictions pertaining to Yom Kippur are ended once night has fallen. However, one is forbidden to eat or drink before Havdalah. Okay, so that's just a ruling. I mean, again, we just went through this and we talked about other, some authorities rule that even when Yom Kippur falls on the Sabbath, the blessing over, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Karo was against it. Simple.
Yeah. Some authorities rule that even when Yom Kippur falls on the Sabbath, the blessing over aromatic herbs is not included in Havdalah.
Correct.
However, many later authorities dispute the ruling and hold that the blessing should be said. This is the prevalent custom nowadays. Unlike other festivals, the blessing Borei Meorei Ha'esh is said even when Yom Kippur falls on a weekday. However, there is a restriction on how the fire may be obtained, which does not apply on Motzi Shabbos, and it actually explains why. Namely, the source of the flame must be a fire that has been kindled before Yom Kippur. Ideally, the blessing should be recited directly over fire that had burned on Yom Kippur, but should this prove to be impossible, it may be recited over a flame kindled from such a flame. If such a flame is unattainable, the blessing should not be recited at all. One should not rely on the view. Should only rely on the view that one can recite the blessing over flame which has been lit from a newly lit flame or from a Gentile's fire which was lit on Yom Kippur, which is basically forbidden. The reason for this difference between the flame of Motzi Shabbat and that of Motzi Yom Kippur derives from the fundamental difference in the reasons for using the flame in Havdalah on these two nights. On Motzi Shabbat, we thank God for teaching Adam how to create fire, since this occurred on the first Motzi Shabbat of creation. We commemorate this event with the blessing of in the Havdalah. Since the fire was newly made, the Havdalah flame too may be new. But on Motzi Yom Kippur, the blessing accentuates the difference between Yom Kippur, when it is forbidden to use fire for kindling, and other festivals when we are permitted to use fire for cooking. Since the blessing demonstrates that only now has the fire been rendered permissible for use, it must be recited over a flame that burned on Yom Kippur and has now become permissible.
Yet Shabbat overrides Yom Kippur.
In the view of the above, the Yom Kippur occurs on Shabbat. One may recite the blessing over any flame. If the flame has burned on Yom Kippur if the flame is not burned on Yom Kippur is not available. However, even on Motzi Shabbat, it is customary to use an old fire. If on Motzi Shabbat such a flame is not available, it is preferable to kindle a new flame and then to use the one to make a second flame. The Havdalah should be then be recited over the second flame. There are differences in opinion whether one may recite the blessing over the candle which has been lit in the synagogue, since they were intended not for use but to lend honor to the day. The same applies to the flame of the Yom Kippur yahrzeit lamps. If this is the only halakhically eligible fire available, one should kindle another candle from it and recite the blessing over both flames together. In order to avoid such problems, it is advisable on Erev Yom Kippur to light an additional candle in the house for use on Motzi Yom Kippur.
Correct.
As on Motzi Shabbat, it is preferable that a woman should not recite Havdalah themselves on Motzi Yom Kippur, but should hear it from a man. The reason for this is that some authorities hold that Havdalah is a time-related mitzvah from which women are exempt. They may do work after reciting Ata Honantanu in the Shemona Esrei or the formula Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kadosh L'Chol, but may not eat or drink until after Havdalah, and we've already talked about that. Since this may be impractical, they may recite Havdalah themselves. Okay, so we're on the last part of this, which is after Yom Kippur. Motzi Yom Kippur is a quasi Yom Tov. One should eat a festive meal. The Midrash says that on this night, a heavenly voice, Bat Kol, proclaims, "Go and eat your bread with joy." One should begin to build the sukkah, if possible, on Motzi Yom Kippur, in order to go from one mitzvah to the other. One should pray Shacharit early in the morrow of Yom Kippur. The first temple was dedicated in the days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot. Therefore, during the period Takanun in the Mincha of the Sabbath and of Harachamim before Musaf are not recited, nor are Pirkei Avot or Shir Hamalot recited on Shabbat afternoon. Sure. And that, my friends, concludes, right on time too, our brief and quick review of the laws and customs of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
We got into pretty deep into the customs and the rules. I don't know how the room feels and the rabbi how he feels, if he has any questions.
Yeah, well, Rabbi Wyckoff had to leave.
Oh,
I
okay.
said something. Yeah, that was he had some appointment or something like that, and he was just popping in.
What about the
We're
people in the
glad he
room?
was here
Any
for the time that
questions?
he was.
Any questions from the room?
Let's see. Donald says, I thought women were exempt from prayers if she is needed for a family issue. Well, yeah. Women are exempt from any time related mitzvah.
That is true. Listen, they're exempt, but if they want to pray, the woman wants to do the
Yeah,
Havdalah. There's nothing wrong. But she is exempt. She doesn't have to.
right.
But at the same time, the husband is in the synagogue and he's waiting to do the Havdalah. She's at home with the kids and they're screaming. They don't want to eat.
Yeah. Well, it does. It does. The law does say that she can say Havdalah herself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She can
Yeah.
say Havdalah. She can feed the kids or herself.
Okay.
You know, you should not outstretch the hours that you are fasting.
Right.
You're putting stress on yourself. So yeah, she's allowed to do the Havdalah. The husband is, let's say he wants to wait an extra hour. She doesn't have to.
Right. So Richard says, "Thanks, rabbis. Awesome study. I'm glad to hear that. Very glad to hear that you enjoyed it. Don't forget that this is going to be the live broadcast until after Sukkot and the rest of the month of Tishrei, mainly because the high holy days, but also I'm going in to have cataract removed. So during Chol HaMoed, Sukkot, Shabbat services will continue as usual through this period. And then, again, if you want to keep up to date on what's going on, go to our website, which is still called sevenbakers.com. And you can sign up for the newsletter there and be kept up to date on when the holy day services are going to be, when Shabbat services are going to be, and when we will resume broadcasting. The newsletter goes out every week, so you'll be kept up to date. We also, during this period when it's good idea that we give tzedakah, you can go to our website and click on the donate button if you wish, and give a little tzedakah. So
to all the people in the room, to all the Jewish people throughout the world, L'Shana Tova Tikatevo, for the women it's Tikatevi. May you all of us, be inscribed in the book of life.
Okay, and with that, I'm going to turn you down.
Okay.
And then we'll sign out, and I'll get back with you. And with that, we will simply say Laila Tov and Shana Tova.